The first meeting is really a get-to-know-you meeting. We're going to sit down. Typically, the meeting will last about an hour. We're having a conversation. My job is to ask them some questions about where they are, what some of their goals are, what some of the key objectives they have in meeting with me, where they are to this point, and really what brought them in to see me. And now I'm at the point in my career where I have a lot of people that are dependent upon me to provide them with all the guidance and all the advice that we do on a day-to-day basis.
You spend your working years trying to build up your assets, trying to build up pension credits at your job, trying to grow your nest egg so that you can one day retire when you can't work or don't want to work anymore. And that's a period followed by phase two, which is retirement. And your priorities in these two phases are very different, but many times we see people don't make that shift and they still act like they're in phase one when they really should be acting like they're in phase two.
We're going to talk to you about what we commonly refer to as the second half of the game. And what I mean by that is you're working your entire life towards retirement, and I'm assuming that most of you are, at that age where you're starting to consider some of your options as you move into retirement. And as you do that, you're moving from what we call the accumulation phase of your life, where you're accumulating your assets. Maybe you're participating in your company's 401k, maybe you're contributing to an IRA account or a Roth IRA account or some type of retirement vehicle. And now, as you retire, you're transitioning into the distribution phase, or the part where you're going to need income in retirement. So we're going to talk about some different ways to do that with an emphasis on Social Security. Hello everyone, and welcome to Financially Speaking with Jeff Bush. My name is Jeff Bush and I'll be today's host, joined today by my colleague and partner, Mr. Barry Warnker. Hello, Barry, and welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Jeff. I think we have a pretty good show to talk about today, something that's pretty important to a lot of people.
Well, we have been spending a lot of time here on TV and also in our practice in real life talking about Social Security. Social Security is such an integral part of income planning for retirement that it's really kind of a cornerstone of our practice, and we've dedicated a large part of our practice to getting the word out. We've been doing a lot of public speaking on this, some writing, and now, of course, the TV show. So we've spent the last couple shows really honing in on Social Security. So today we're going to uncover some of the interesting facts and figures around Social Security. And before we get started, I should mention that for all of our listeners, we always are going to offer a free report, a free Social Security report. If you're interested in doing that, you can call our office. Our number's up on the screen. You can send us an email. We'll get information out to you. So without further ado, Barry, why don't you start to run through some of these facts and figures for today?
Well, yeah, and thanks, Jeff. It seems, I guess, the last 3-4 years. Actually, we're in our 16th year as Informed Family, so we've been doing this a long time. But really, about 3-4 years ago, we started to see more and more that we would meet people who had already made their Social Security choice, and oftentimes that choice was not the right choice for them, but they just didn't know better. Typically you'd hear people that thought a lot about many things in their lives and were very careful in the decisions they made. They were careful in buying a house and picking out a mortgage, and they were careful, they paid attention to their investments. But when it came to Social Security, they just made a quick decision and didn't really do any analysis. And it's not an easy thing to do for yourself, because it's hard to be objective about which benefit to take, and it's kind of human nature when you see a report that says, hey, you can start collecting $2,000 a month now. Say, geez, why would I turn that down? Well, the fact is, if you wait, every year that you wait to take that benefit, well, that's an 8% gain on your benefit. So people kind of lose sight of the long picture and just want to grab that money because it's kind of like free money mentality.
Well, I think it's human nature to um, underestimate your longevity in retirement. And I think that people that have the opportunity to take a Social Security benefit have the tendency to take it now because they don't know how long they're going to be around to take the benefit. So there's a break-even point where it makes sense to wait, and it's kind of hard for people to say, oh yeah, I'm going to live past that break-even point and it's going to pay me to wait. That coupled with the uncertainty of our government and the future viability of the system. So there's a lot of kind of uncertainty there. Whether that's warranted or not, can be debated. But I just think a lot of it is just people don't realize how long they're going to live in retirement.
It's funny. I've heard people say, well, yeah, Social Security might not be around. And our studies and our reading on this and constantly keeping up with changes tells us that Social Security will be around. Now, will Social Security be around 20, 30, 40 years from now and take exactly the same shape that it takes now for people that are retiring? Probably not. There's going to be adjustments to the system. And one of the things, just this last year, towards the end of the year, Congress passed very quickly some adjustments to the Social Security, and two of the claiming strategies were affected. And there were two of the pretty popular claiming strategies that have netted our clients over a lifetime, could net our clients an extra $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. And those are being closed off, but they're not entirely closed off yet, again, depending on when you're born and the situation. So I guess the bottom line is if you're at an age where you're getting close to being able to qualify for Social Security, maybe you're 60, 61, maybe you're 62, 63 and haven't claimed yet, it's a great time to send for some information from us and really try to get a handle on what am I really getting and what am I really giving up by using various claiming strategies. Because even with the two that they're kind of phasing out over a period of time, there's still a lot of ways, dozens and dozens and dozens of ways to take Social Security, and you have to do the analysis. It's which is kind of the serious note. The people kind of take this thing casually. In fact, I read an article recently that there's a certain number, and I don't know what that number is. It began with 078, but it was a 9-digit number. For some reason, there were 40,000 people who were using that as their Social Security number. And the reason it turned out was a wallet manufacturer had a fake Social Security card in the wallet, to show people this is where you put your Social Security card. And that number, 40,000 Americans, this is kind of a scary thought, used that as their Social Security number, or tried to. So comical things happen with Social Security. And in fact, the other one we came across was the first Social Security signee. The first person who signed up for Social Security this was quite some time ago, but he signed up for Social Security he died in 1974, but he was the first person to sign up for Social Security. Unfortunately, he died at 61. So the first person to sign up for Social Security when it first came out ended up not getting a penny from Social Security. Well, that's a risk.
What do you mean by he signed up?
Well, he was the first Social Security number. It was the first number that was issued.
So he got the first Social Security number.
First one that was issued. So that he died in 1974. So if you run that back 61 years, that's when Social Security was just starting. And the first guy to signed up, paid into it, and got nothing. But that's kind of there's two sides to that coin, because another person who was actually the first recipient, she signed up, and she lived to be 100.
Right.
So one person got 35 years of payments, and actually she actually put in less than she got the first year. She was the first recipient. She hadn't been paying in that long, So the bottom line is, if you have to look at Social Security, it really is kind of insurance, and it's really an annuity, but you have the choice about how you're going to use that insurance, how you're going to use that annuity. and people kind of just kind of look at the dollar figures and see, hey, gee, $1,000, $2,000, I'm getting it. And instead of saying, well, geez, is that the smartest thing for me to do? And not really doing an analysis. The Social Security Administration tells you in their printed material, and very clearly, this is a big, important decision. You should weigh all these different factors. What is your potential longevity? If you're married, what is the potential longevity of your spouse? Do you have other sources of income? What is your tax situation? How will it affect it? On and on and on. What are your other sources of income? And then it tells you, after it tells you all the things that you should carefully analyze, it tells you, we can't help you with that. You either got to figure it out yourself, or if you're really smart, find an expert. Find someone who's done it 1,000 times, 10,000 times, and can give you the insight you need quickly, relatively quickly, to get the most from Social Security. So, there's every time it's kind of like peeling an onion. Every time we think we're starting to understand Social Security, all the things it can and cannot do, it's a changing game, and some of that has to do with the fact that, again, going back to the first recipient, her name was Ida Mae Fuller, and she was the first recipient. I think she was getting like about $22 a month. But back then, they didn't expect Ida Mae Fuller or very many other people that were 65 years of age to live much past 70, 75, And she was a rare bird. She made it to 100. But now people are living so much longer.
Yeah, if you turn 65, your life expectancy is probably like 22 years. Joint life expectancy is probably 25. When I say joint life expectancy, I mean husband and wife. So 25 years. So that's a long time to claim a benefit.
Yeah, and people kind of lose sight of that. They don't realize that we are living longer for a host of reasons. I mean, there's everybody probably knows somebody in their family or a neighbor who's had a bypass. Well, in the old days, when you had when your heart went, it went. Now they do a bypass. We've had clients who have had heart transplants. I've had clients who have kidney transplants. You name it. Not to mention all the drugs that people take to lower their cholesterol. The fact that people in large numbers are giving up smoking.
Right.
Whereas in the old days it was very fashionable to smoke and considered perfectly normal to have a house full of smoke, and now people are living all their lives or a good part of their lives without having that handicapping their
Yep.
longevity.
Well, there's a whole generation of people that are more conscious of their health, whether it's, people are smoking less, people are eating better, people are exercising more. There's just a whole general awareness of just being healthy.
Can you imagine when you were a kid, looking back, if you saw some guy running around, some grown man running around your neighborhood in shorts and a T-shirt?
Yeah.
I mean, you would have thought that guy's nuts. He's running around and he's all sweaty, and why is he's a grown man?
Yeah, you just didn't see it. I remember when I was a kid, I used to see one guy running, and he was an athlete.
Yeah.
He was a track.
He was considered eccentric too.
Yeah, and that was just and that was even kind of odd. But I mean, here's a guy who was just a trained runner. But now it's like you just see running. There's trails built just for that kind of stuff. But anyway, as far as it relates to Social Security, I think what that means is that there's a lot more stress put on the system because there's 10,000 baby boomers that are reaching the age of 65 and retiring
every day. Every day.
And when you think about that, as the baby boomer generation starts to enter the age of Social Security, it's really putting a lot of stress on the system because there aren't that many people entering the workforce every day. There's not 10,000 people entering the workforce every day. So what happens is it's just really putting a lot more stress on the system. So I think our government leaders have to really take a hard look at this and really figure out how we're going to have a solvent, viable system moving forward.
Well, you mentioned the stress on the system of the 10,000 people a day reaching retirement age, 50 million people over, I think, about an 18-year period. It's really a huge population boom. So many people going to the pay out window as opposed to the pay in window to support Social Security. Back when Social Security started, there was, for everybody that was working, there were 16 workers. So 16 workers to provide enough paid in taxes to support that one recipient. The system built up a surplus over time. Mm-hmm. Well, now you got 3 workers for one recipient. And you've probably gotten notices in the mail that Social Security sends us, and I think now they don't really send much in the mail anymore. Now most of these things are you have to get things through the internet. But they've told us that by I think by 1933 they'll only be able to pay out about 75 cents on the dollar, given the current structure of Social Security. So that goes back to saying, well, if you're worried about Social Security being there for you, if you're in an age bracket where you're getting serious about when to take it, how to take it, Social Security will not disappear on us. It's an $860 billion a year business that isn't just going to disappear, but it will be modified, and more so for the next generations, your children, your grandchildren. They're not going to have probably as much as we have. Anybody who's getting it now or close to getting it, but don't let that make your decision, influence your decision. Your benefits will be there for you. It's just that the rules may change, but they're not going to just drastically. They're not going to cut these for people that are in their 60s and even their 50s, because these are the people that vote for those same politicians.
Well, yeah. Not only that, it really is a driving force in our economy. Yeah. For the average married couple, they're getting over a third of their income from Social Security. So they're not gonna let that go away, because if they do, that's just gonna put more stress on another part of the system. That's gonna put more stress on Medicaid. So they really have to keep that number moving.
Well, you had mentioned something about uncertainty about Social Security. Yes, there may be a little bit of uncertainty about the exact nature of your benefits when you claim them and what they'll be. But that uncertainty is very, very, very minor compared to the uncertainty of the stock market and the bond market and the whole world of investing. There you're dealing with great uncertainties, great volatility, which means that volatility means the stock's up, stock market's down, the market's up, it's down. And those kind of events are things that are going to, they've been there. We've seen it, and it doesn't seem to be abating to where you can just stick your money in the stock market, set it and forget it kind of investments don't really work when you have the risk of the market. So if you can lay a foundation for your retirement of Social Security and really maximize that, you're putting less strain on your investments ultimately over the long haul. But unfortunately, many people make these decisions looking at the short haul. How's it going to affect me the next 2, 3, 5 years, when they should be, as you mentioned, if they're 62, they have the risk of living another 30, 35 years.
Yeah.
That's the big risk.
There's a whole set of circumstances that you have to look at, and you can't look at Social Security in a vacuum. When you go to take your Social Security benefit, it's like managing a large asset. It's like managing an asset that's worth somewhere between $600,000 and $800,000. So you have to really be smart about how you're going to take this benefit. So you have to, it's like baking a cake. You have to put all the ingredients in. So you have to figure out, what's your reasonable life expectancy? What's the reasonable life expectancy of your spouse? What are your other sources of income? Are there pension options that you have? What are the pension options? Are there survivor options on that? what about your assets? What about your retirement assets? How are you going to take income from that? There's a whole list of things that you have to consider when you're deciding how you want to take your Social Security benefits. So it's not quite as simple as, okay, well, I'm 62 now and this benefit's here for me, I might as well take it. You have to really look at, you know, all the other factors that weigh into taking a Social Security benefit.
That brings me to an important point. I mean, we've been doing the Social Security analysis for our clients and for people in the community. Anybody who wants a Social Security analysis of their options, we are more than happy to provide that. Just get in touch with us and we can do that for you, and without compromising any kind of confidentiality. But even more so, what's really exciting is we've developed software that we use that can really go much deeper into this whole income issue, because what it does is it not only analyzes which Social Security is going to be the most lucrative for you over the various potential life expectancies and which strategies to use, but it then takes all the investments and looks at all the investments and integrates the whole system so that you're taking money in the right order. You're managing not only you're managing risk as well, better, and you're making the money last longer. We can design it where income increases over time, which is what really people need, because we all know that inflation is going to be there in the long haul. We may not have a whole lot of it the last 5 years, but historically inflation is more in the 2 or 3% range, and that's going to happen. And if we don't make careful analysis in that regard, that's important. Also, to manage the taxes. If people think that tax rates are high now, they should look on some graphics and some data about how high taxes have been in the past,
Yeah.
and that right now we're living in a low inflation, low tax environment. Hard to believe, Harry, as Rich Ashburn used to say, but that's the fact. So unless you analyze, say, well, we got to make some assumptions. Are the tax rates going to stay the same over the next 20 or 30 years, or are they more likely to go up? Well, work a number backwards. You got 50 million people at the payout window, and fewer and fewer people at the pay up window.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
it becomes
I think,
critical.
Yeah, I mean, and taxes is one of many things that you have to consider here, Barry. And taxes really impact just about every financial decision that you're going to make in retirement. Whether you're talking about an IRA, which you take that money out and it's taxable. And of course there's rules that are centered around that. Once you reach the age of 70 and one half, you have to start taking money out of your IRA account, pay taxes on that. So taxes really, are an important factor here. And as we tape this today, we're in the middle of tax season, so taxes are really on the forefront of everyone's mind. And as you stated, we're in a low tax environment, have been for quite some time. And as that starts to heat up, taxes start to heat up, and inflation starts to heat up, we're going to start to see, I believe, increases in the tax rates. So that really kind of leads us down to another path with the Roth IRA, where you do the conversions now, pay the taxes now under today's rates, and then you have tax-free money down the road for you and for your legacy, for your family. So there's all these. It's kind of like putting pieces to a puzzle together. You have your Social Security into what I'll call Social Security integration, and then you have how are you going to if you have a pension, and even though we see fewer and fewer people retiring with pensions, some people still have them. So there's pension options that you have to consider, and then your retirement accounts. How are they going to become a part of your overall financial plan? So if you're interested in receiving more information about Social Security, you can send us an email. The The email address is right up on the screen, or if you want to give us a phone call, we're always available. We do have public seminars that we do from time to time. If you want a listing of our public seminars, you can call us for that information as well. So Barry, anything else that we want to touch on today on regarding Social Security?
Well, we covered some interesting facts and figures about Social Security. By the way, if folks that are interested, we have a newsletter that we do, and it's a financial newsletter. And we usually try to come out with it every month, and I get a lot of good feedback from it from clients and people that have asked for it. We'll provide a free newsletter every month, and it'll be informative. And oftentimes it might lead you to make some good decisions. But good decisions start with getting the facts, getting informed. I guess it's one reason why we're an informed family. We want our clients and people we work with to be informed. But you need good facts, good information, some careful analysis, and some expertise in making good decisions about Social Security and about your overall financial plan. So that's about. I guess that's about. We've said about enough today on it, and opportunities are there to learn more about this if you want them, and we hope you do.
On that note, we're going to we'll sign off. This has been Financially Speaking with Jeff Bush, and until next time, stay well.